Hello and welcome everyone to this week's Akashic Business Wisdom Show with me, your host, Natasha Nicole Harris. And I am absolutely delighted to be joined by Ania Volovique, who is going to be talking about her inspiring story today. And I'm just so excited that you're here, Ania. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
It's great to be here. So for those of you that don't know me, I am here every Wednesday at 4 p.m. live with a guest speaking about inspiring stories, sharing a little bit of tips and wisdom about the Akashic Records. So there are plenty of past shows that are available in my Soul Aligned Leaders Facebook group as well. So let's cut to the chase. Ania, please introduce yourself to our audience. And if you are watching the replay, please do type #replay and you can comment anytime throughout the show and we will get back to you. But Ania, do introduce yourself.
Thank you. So the easiest way, the simplest way to introduce myself, I'm a manifesting generator, so I have a lot of talents and passions. So as of now, my focus is on coaching and photography. Yeah. So I really am passionate about supporting entrepreneurs with their brand, with their business, and then at the same time, really guiding people back to themselves. So releasing any fears, any limiting beliefs, so that way they find their own truth within.
Yeah, such an important thing. And I know that we talk a very similar language. We just have different ways of doing things. But it's just always so beautiful to connect with like-minded soul beings all over the planet, to really have these conversations and realize that there are, so many different ways of how we found our path, how we came back to being who we are, finding ourselves, coming home to ourselves. So yeah, I know you have a really fascinating story that's in a number of steps, but share us a little bit about how you got to, where did it start for you? That's probably a great place.
Yeah, I think the first choice point for me was the decision to realize that I wasn't living my life. So I was living the American dream, checking off the boxes and, getting married, getting a house, having a good job. So checking off the boxes. And then I took a step back and realized that even though it's an American dream, it wasn't my dream. So I changed and shifted every single part of my life that didn't feel 100% me. They didn't feel truly in alignment with who I was at that point. Wow. So after all of the changes and the shifts, then I decided to pursue the dream that I had since I was 6, which was to live in Paris. So naturally, I bought a one-way ticket to Paris without a plan, without any money, without speaking the language or knowing anyone there.
Wow. That takes some real bravery to do that. The question that really springs to mind was what did you feel what was the moment where you thought that all this living where you were living and all these things were out of alignment? You said that you decided to release these things that didn't feel right. How did you come to making those decisions? Was it a very quick decision or was it something that took time?
I went to this conference called What If? And it was in the Dominican Republic, so it was in a different country. I was living in New York at the time. And being away from my environment, being away from all of the knowns allowed me to see clearly. So in this conference was for artistpreneurs. So it was for people who chose to live life according to their own rules. Wow. And the question was, what if you lived the life that you desired? So being surrounded by hundreds of people in that mindset for the first time in my life at that point, I also saw what was possible. When I was living in the life that I was living, all I saw were different replicas of whatever I was trying to pursue. So being away from that environment and seeing clearly and having a different example and representation of what is possible, that kind of shifted things for me, and the light bulb went off. And then I came back, and then that's when I shifted everything.
Wow. So it was pretty quick then. It was what if this is possible? And it's just following that dream that you've had since you were 6 years old to go to Paris. Had you ever been to Paris before?
No. So that was my first time.
Wow. Okay. So fast forward, you bought a single plane ticket.
So I get to Paris, and serendipitously, I met someone before I left, and she was also going to Paris the same time, and she offered for me to stay in her hotel room with her for the first week. So the first week I had housing.
Yeah.
And I had $200 to my name. And in euros, that at that point was probably like 150 euros, that you can't really survive longer than a week. So the first week was great because I stayed in this beautiful hotel and I had company. And then that's when reality kicked in, because at that point, I decided to couch surf. So I didn't have the budget to pay for hotels. So I was couch surfing, and like through the website couchsurfing.com, which is like so amazing.
Yeah.
But then I was still so present to how little money I had. So there was a point where I had to decide if I'm going to have lunch or dinner. So as fabulous as the story goes, in the first few weeks, even in the first few months, there were a lot of low points as well, because I was a stranger in a different country without knowing anybody, without having money, which is like the currency to survive.
Yeah. And not speaking the language.
Yeah.
Right. Oh my goodness. So yeah. So what happened then?
So I was talking about my purpose and my vision to everybody that I met. So at that point, I had this project that I was working on called Discovering Wings. And the premise of that project was to interview people with an inspiring story. So those that everyday heroes that chose to live life according to their own rules. So I was photographing them and interviewing them, and my vision was to turn this into a book. So I was sharing this vision with literally every single person that I met. And there was an element of vulnerability, but then also innocence, because there was no thought of like, what will they think or how am I coming across? There were like no fears. It was this ultimate innocence. I just wanted to meet people, and I just wanted to share this amazing vision that I had.
Yeah.
And because of my energy, I think people felt that, and they wanted to support me, especially seeing as like I'm this like little backpacker and without any money, not speaking the language. They're like, oh, she's really crazy, but I want to help her. Yeah. I think that's my advantage.
Wow, I love that ultimate innocence, and I think that comes with an element of trust. Of that innocence is. There's a deeper trust, there's a softness to that, isn't there? It's just like a deep trust that with that innocence, things will unfold, and just speaking out loud your vision, it inspires other people. It kind of brings people along for the ride. I can feel the vibe already. Like I can feel that vibe as you're talking, totally. So you started interviewing people and started to build things and content and photographs for the book.
Yeah, so there was a vision attached to this. I wasn't just doing it, let's see what happens. Let me depend on other people. There was like a bigger vision attached to this dream. So I got introduced to someone who also had a similar path as I had, who just started his own clothing line. So he was following his dream as well. And he invited me to travel with him and to document the making of his brand. So because he was inspired by my story, and our stories had very similar details attached to it, like my grandfather was a photographer, even my last name is my grandfather's name, and he started his company because of his grandfather. So there was this heart-to-heart connection. And because of that one interaction and one connection, I ended up traveling throughout Europe for the next 2 years.
Oh my goodness. Wow. I just think there's something so beautiful, because like by talking about something and sharing our dream, no matter how crazy it might seem to most people doing, the normal thing in life, it's like there's something that comes alive with that vision. It stops just becoming a dream. It becomes a reality every time you speak it, every time you interview somebody, every time you're building something for that book and having a conversation. The universe starts conspiring for you, and people start arriving going, well, I have this vision, I have this dream, I have this thing that I'm building, and together how beautiful. I'm really feeling this. This is just gorgeous. Yeah. So 2 years of traveling through Europe.
And throughout that time, one of the reasons why I decided to go to Paris, in the back of my mind, I thought, oh, maybe this is my home, because I've always been so drawn to it. And I don't even know, maybe from past life, there was this deep, deep resonance and connection to Paris.
Yeah.
And I thought that that's probably because I'm meant to live there. So I was going to Paris with the intention of possibly moving there full time.
Yeah.
So there was deep hole within me searching for something, searching for home.
Yeah.
And I thought that a physical location would fit that hole.
Right. Isn't that so funny as well? Because not funny, but like it's something we think when we're looking for home, we think it's something outside of ourselves. It's a place, it's a family, it's a belonging to something that's outside of ourselves. And actually it really is that, it starts within us. I mean, it's such a cliche, it's such a thing that we say, but when we really, really get that, when we really start to discover what it feels like to really feel so at home and so comfortable within our own skin, life takes on a whole nother trajectory. So how did you start to discover this idea of, what it meant for you that home was within you?
Well, after traveling for 2 years and searching for a home, I finally came to a realization that no physical space can actually represent home. And since I can live anywhere in the world, and I proved to myself that I can handle so much and I can create everything from nothing, and even being in a different country, I can still make it work.
Yeah.
So that was like the shift that occurred within me, that I realized, well, if home could be anywhere where I am, then why don't I just decide where physical home would be?
Yeah.
So then I made a list of everything I'm looking for in a physical home, and San Diego came top of the list. I've never been there before. I was living in New York at the time, never been to San Diego before. So I decided to just go there and check it out.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible, isn't it? It's like, I want to ask you how you came to that. But firstly, I think there's something else, a realization that in that 2 years that you were traveling and you were searching for this home, that actually piece by piece with each place you went to, everyone you met, there was a piece of coming home in every experience within that, right?
Yeah.
So you were building your home as you were searching for your home.
Yes.
Yeah. That just vision of
representation. Absolutely.
Yeah, that real vision of like, oh, we actually, if we allow ourselves, we can find ourselves in the searching and not keep thinking that it's something outside of ourselves. So like, how on earth did you land on San Diego if you'd never been there?
I got a flight.
A flight went there.
Yeah, I went there for 2 weeks and I didn't know anybody there. I had one acquaintance, but that I met maybe a handful of times. And I couch surfed again. Another little shout out to couch surfing website. And I met amazing people. So I intentionally stayed in different areas of San Diego just to get a feel the energy of the area. And then it felt like home, like a physical home that I want to live in finally. And then I went back to New York, sold everything that I had, or most of the things I had, packed 2 huge bags, and flew to San Diego.
Flew to San Diego. Wow, my goodness. I mean, it is so beautiful, isn't it? Because it's like we understand then that this coming home to ourselves is an involvement. It's like suddenly you become, I guess, a vibrational match to somewhere like San Diego. Whereas before, 2 years prior, if you'd have gone to San Diego, it may not have been. And that's still where you are, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So how long have you been in San Diego?
So I lived in San Diego for almost 7 years. And well, I lived there for 6 years. I moved to Colorado last November.
Okay, right.
So I'm in Colorado now.
Oh, so you're in Colorado now. So what was your experience of San Diego and how that fit in with this idea of finding you and coming home to you?
I think Sandy, and it's so perfect with the timing of this interview because I just flew back from San Diego. I was there this past weekend.
Yeah.
And as I was in the airport, I remembered when I'm even getting emotional thinking about it now. I remembered when I arrived there, and there was again so much innocence and like infinite possibilities were in my heart, but I had no idea what this city would represent down the line. So looking back now, I feel like San Diego was that, like the gift from the universe of bringing together such amazing group of people that now I call some of my closest friends. They allowed the city itself, and the energy of the city allowed me to be my fullest expression and to connect with other souls, to connect with clients, and go through my own personal development journey. So San Diego represented probably the biggest growth I've experienced in my life since I decided to choose myself again and again and again.
And again and again. Wow. Oh my goodness. I feel goosebumpy just you relaying that and just remembering that innocence again, that trust in your heart to really follow your heart, to follow where you were guided to go, in such a beautiful way. And again, I think it comes back to that trust that sometimes we stop ourselves from making decisions because we don't have that innocence. We try to preempt everything and think about what could possibly happen, how it could be right, how it could be wrong. And just that pure innocence of a child that you'll say, well, why are you doing that? Don't know. I just want to do it.
Exactly.
And we've forgotten that. And that's part of it for coming home for me, I think. It's that trusting, that real, just that inner knowing that there's something that we do, and we put off for so long those things that are calling to us for fear that, yeah, it might not work out the way we expected. Because I'm guessing that San Diego didn't work out, it worked out, but it's like it was part of your big part of your development, wasn't it?
Definitely. And something else to note is, I think that, and also now looking at hindsight, because we only learn by looking back, right? So Steve Jobs said, this is one of my favorite quotes of his, we can only connect the dots looking back. We can never connect the dots looking forward. So if I pre-planned everything or had a strategy or a step-by-step action plan, my life probably would look very different. Not to say that it would be worse, but if we try to pre-plan things, we're putting ourselves in a box.
Yeah.
And we're saying this is the way it has to be versus the infinite possibilities of how it could be.
Yeah, absolutely. I think some of my most incredible experiences that have taken me also all around the world were moments of, I don't know why I'm doing this. I just know I have to say yes to it. An opportunity arises, feels like the most like left-wing kind of like thing to do. And everyone's going, well, why are you doing that? I'm like, I don't know. I feel like my life needs to go in that direction. And just, again, I think also I really identify with this idea of like this innocence of trust. Like there was just a knowing. It's like, I don't think my life can go any other way right now. It's like, I have to just follow that and go. So yeah. And it's like, you talk about like what we've talked about, like attracting things that are meant for us. It's like, we don't know what's meant for us. It's just like attracting that by being who we are and being, I guess, innately us and coming home to us, right?
Yeah. And sometimes we attract things that in a logical mind, we would never say like, oh, this is what I want to attract. And this is like a good segue to what I attracted 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It was like a brain cancer diagnosis. I never would have said, oh, I wish I would get brain cancer. But now, again, looking back, that was one of the greatest things that ever happened to me. It was a blessing.
Yeah, it's just, if you feel comfortable just to share the story about how that sort of came about. And yeah, it's like, it's so inspiring how you've, and because that was, how long ago did you say that was?
3 years ago.
3 years ago. So yeah, it's not very long ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you want to share something around that.
Yeah, I've been having, so San Diego brought a lot of things to the surface, and it was deep personal development work. And I was having seizures for a year, but I wasn't paying attention or identifying them as seizures. So in July of 2019, I lost control of my body. My car flipped upside down. I walked away with just a tiny scratch. So that was like the first big wake up call. That wasn't big enough. The following month,
sometimes these things
sometimes you don't hear. It's like
Yep.
the universe taps at us on the shoulder, like, hey, hi, there's something over here you should look at. And we're just like focused on our own agenda. And then it's like, boom, smack.
And it still wasn't loud enough.
Yeah. So the following month, on August 8th, which is considered Lionsgate, one of the most powerful days.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Coming up to. So I had a full-on seizure where I fell on my face and woke up in an ambulance. And when they brought me to the hospital, because of the way that I looked this time, where like my whole face was bloody, I had my chin was all, messed up.
Yeah.
And they took, I guess, more tests because the prior month they didn't show anything. Yeah. So they took the test and they found a 5-centimeter brain tumor.
My goodness.
And the doctors, as they do, they start preparing us for worst case scenario. So long healing journey ahead. I need brain surgery. I may not be able to walk again. I'll need chemo, radiation, the whole package.
Yeah. Yeah.
And throughout that experience, even though it was a scary diagnosis and it was unsettling to hear the news, something within just felt grounding.
Wow. I just, again, I have those goosebumps of that journey that you were taking the preceding years, the level of trust, the innocence to bring you back to who you are, kind of allowed you that space to make a different decision from what was being prognosed to you. Mm-hmm. And what you were being guided, I guess, to be doing with the doctor. So where did that journey lead you then?
So when I was in the hospital, it felt like I've been waiting for this my entire life, and I've been preparing for this my entire life.
Wow.
Because up until that point, I felt, for the majority of the days, I felt like I'm not seen, I'm not heard, and I don't belong. So the biggest story that my mind has been telling me is that I don't belong. And the brain cancer experience allowed me to crash all of those stories and face them and actually realize that they're not true. Because the amount of love and support and prayers that I was receiving and visitors, it was just so overwhelming. The nurses had to ask who I was because they've never seen so many people visiting a patient.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that makes me emotional. I want to cry. How beautiful. How amazing.
So yes, I couldn't, like after brain surgery, I couldn't walk, but I was filled with so much love because I was receiving thousands of messages and people, there was like people getting on the wait list of seeing me. And it was just, I finally got the fact that I do belong. And I was just not seeing what was always here.
Yeah. Yes. And it's that, isn't it? It's like, the love heals. We know that. And the amount of love that we receive, that we can give ourselves. And also, again, the sense of like belonging, like you belong. It's like you've been searching, like as we've been hearing, you were searching for that home. And then suddenly it was like, you realize that you actually do belong where you are. Mm-hmm. How powerful is that? Yeah. My goodness. So then, it's like a lot of mindset work that you did, and I know that you had a lot of practices that you did. Can you maybe what were the main things that you did that you felt really supported you? Like if there were a couple top ones that you were like, these couple that really, really supported you through that journey of transformation again?
I think the main one was creating an environment of health and really my mindset and not taking on other people's prescription or other people's idea of how a sick person looks is really important. The other piece was really being mindful around the words that I chose to use. So I never took on the identity of a cancer patient. I was saying I'm having a cancer experience. So that already like created a little bit of a distance between seeing myself as sick or a cancer patient and everything that usually comes as a package with. And I was just seeing it as another experience on my transformational journey. So that was a big piece of it. And then I was visualizing myself healthy and healed. So I was meditating every day, most like mornings and evenings, and really putting more positive and inspiring information into my mind versus looking at the reality that all the doctors thought I should be focusing on.
Yeah. Wow, that's so powerful, isn't it? Just that perspective shift of from being a cancer patient that we're sick to having a cancer experience and seeing how you want it to shape you, how you want to walk through that experience being healthy. It's huge, but it's also, it's just a shift, a slight shift, isn't it? But it's massive how that impacts. I mean, that is just so powerful, really truly powerful and really inspiring, because I've never really heard of people talking about any kind of experience or like any sickness from that. It's like it's something I'm experiencing, rather than we're always told we're sick or we're not well or we have to heal ourselves or we have to, go from sickness to health. It's like there are parts of us that are healthy.
Right.
And how do we expand on those?
Exactly.
Oh, lots of thoughts and questions are going on in my mind right now. That's huge. That feels really.
And I think everybody, no matter where a person is, they can take something from even this little piece as well. Don't identify with your current circumstances, because anything you put after I am, you actually are manifesting it. You're calling it in and you're taking on the identity of whatever you're saying. So the words are like prayers. So anytime you speak out loud or even into yourself in your head, you are praying for it. So if you don't want to have that experience, see how you can take a step back and use a different variation of words. So you're not praying for what you don't want.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really powerful. And also just that idea of our circumstances don't dictate our path.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's who we are in that circumstance that dictates it. It's not the experience. It's not the circumstances of it. It's how we choose to walk it.
Yeah. And this is like a great segue too. So one of the mantras I had a lot of channeling that came through during that time. So it was a really spiritual experience as well. So one of the mantras that came through is I choose what chooses me. And what that represented is that if it's in front of me, it's for me.
Yeah.
So if this cancer experience is in front of me, there's gold, there's blessings, there's something here for me. So instead of forcing to be somewhere else or fighting it or resisting it, how can I lean into it and realize that there's something here for me because it's right here? So when we choose what chooses us, meaning whatever experience is here, we are releasing any struggle that's attached to it.
Yeah. Wow, that's really powerful. I think I need just a moment for that to sink in as well. But just everything about what you've said is like it's gold, because sometimes we see our circumstances as something that's getting in our way of our bigger vision of what we want to do here in the world, of who we want to be, of how we want to impact the world. Because I know my audience are here all to make a difference, to really make a stand for shifting the paradigm from where we are to something new and different. Who knows what that is? But it's like how we allow ourselves to really use our circumstances to propel us to being more of who we want to be. I think that's something around that is what I'm getting from this conversation, which is really, really inspiring. So how has it allowed you then to be more of who you are, more within yourself, but also through your work? How has that I know that's your work as well, but how has that led that and evolved that for you?
There were so many blessings that that experience gave me. And also, just to tie that story together, a week after brain surgery, I learned to walk again. So despite what the doctors were predicting, I walked again. And then 2 weeks after I got discharged from the hospital, all of my scans came back clear. So I didn't need any chemo or radiation.
Wow.
Practices that I'm sharing, they actually created the results that I wanted. I wasn't attached to them because I chose the experience and fully surrendered into it. I even shaved my head as a way to be in control of my hair and of my body. But in the end, it turned out that I didn't need anything.
Oh, wow. That is powerful. And to be able to walk again after a week.
Yeah. So
Wow.
after I was discharged, that's when the reality set in, because when you're in the hospital, all you're focusing on is what's in your control. But the real work started afterwards. So I started working with a powerful healer, and we started doing deep inner work. So really looking at not only just beliefs, but where are the beliefs coming from? What is the root cause of different ways how my body is communicating with me? So there's a lot of release happening. And as a result of that, then I also connected with someone through a mastermind I was a part of. And I came on board to support her coaching business. And we've been supporting thousands of people at this point release whatever trauma their body is holding on, and being able to communicate and understand what is your body saying. So when you stub a toe, there's actually a meaning behind it.
Yeah.
Much like Louise Hay, popular book, You Can Heal Your Life.
Yes. I think I have 2 copies on my bookshelf somehow.
Right.
One wasn't clearly enough.
Yeah. Here's another one.
Here's another one. Yeah. Sorry, carry on.
So my work has shifted because of that experience. And then the pandemic, of course, I started focusing on supporting other people, not only on their health journey, but even more so finding home within themselves too.
Yes.
So that was like one of the blessings that came from the brain cancer experience. From like the professional side, and then from personal side. And this is like tying all of the pieces together and coming full circle. So I was, one of the reasons why I left New York, and one of the things that I left behind, was a marriage that was destructive and was not healthy at that point. So 7 years later, I have this brain cancer experience, and my ex-husband, who we still remained friends, came to support me. And after spending some time together, he realized that there's more. We're not done yet, basically. And we reunited, and then we've been together ever since. So from the professional side, my purpose got strengthened even more so, and I got a chance to support thousands of people and keep going. And from the personal life, I reunited with my soulmate, and we now live in a beautiful house overlooking a lake in Colorado.
Oh my goodness. So there's even a love story in there.
Exactly. And it's literally 7 years later. So there's a saying that every 7 years, there's like a weird comeback. It's a full circle, right? So yes, when we follow our true path, every single thing falls into place, versus if you try to fight it or resist it.
Yeah. How incredible is that? I mean, like we've spoken before, but I just love the way that you've shared this, and how it's a circle, and it's coming back to us. It's like we are being asked, we're being invited, we are being given the opportunity now as soul beings, I believe, to come back to us full circle as a soul being in a human body. And how do we express that out into the world, do the work we're called to do, make a difference, support hundreds of women, like it's, or you know, other souls around the world, to be able to do the work we're doing, and through the experiences, how it allows us to do our work even more greatly, even more impactfully, even more just even more, right? I mean, this is the magic, rather than allowing ourselves to these experiences, these circumstances to stop us from doing it. How can we now propel ourselves into doing more of it? I think this is the resounding message from today. It's just like really, really powerful.
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you so much for sharing this beautiful story. Is there one kind of parting thing you'd like to leave for anyone watching on the replay? Just like for anyone who's going to watch this at the perfect time, somewhere out in the future, is there one thing you'd like to just kind of share?
Yeah, I don't know if it's one thing, but
yeah, if it's a couple, go for it. We've got time.
Yeah, I think the main thing from this conversation is don't fight whatever is in your experience, and see if there was a blessing, if there was a purpose, what might that be? So approach through that lens and then see how your life starts to transform itself. So instead of seeing yourself as life is happening to me and seeing yourself as a victim of any kind, you can actually embrace it and step into it and then see what emerges.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. And yeah, so how can people find out a bit more about the work that you're doing with everyone, and if what they hear from you really resonates and they want to reach out, how can people find you, Ania?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, Ania Volovique, and we'll post all of the links. My website is my last name, volovique.com, super easy. And we do also have a free masterclass tonight. So if you are watching tonight, sign up. If you're watching after the masterclass, you can still sign up and get a replay. And we're going to be focusing on body splits. So it's really about understanding what different parts of your body mean. So like this weekend, I hurt my shoulder. So it's the right shoulder. So the right side is the masculine. Shoulder is usually like carrying something. So that's what I'm sitting with and journaling around. So if you're interested to understand what your body might be communicating with you, then definitely join us and check it out.
Yeah, I'm sure that will be incredibly powerful, because when we can start to read the little signs, that's when we can really
get a little smack against the head.
Yeah, we know exactly. But like as we start to really become more and more in tune with our body and what the messages our body is giving us, we become so much more powerful. We become less kind of beholden to our circumstances, as we've talked about, and more in power of how we navigate through things. Oh my goodness, Ania, thank you so much for sharing your incredible story with us and your life's journey. It's just been really,
it's just the beginning,
isn't it? Just and that's it, isn't it? That's the beauty of it. I'm so excited to see what will come, and when we look at these things that they are for us, then we know we can navigate whatever turns up for us, and that we can become stronger, more powerful beings, sovereign beings through it. Oh my goodness, so inspiring. I'm going to go and take a lie down. It's very hot in the UK here, but it's like, wow, really so many nuggets. So yeah, if you've got questions, please do reach out to Ania. Please do comment on the feeds wherever you're watching this, and tag either Ania or myself, and we will come back to you. We will answer those questions. Stay in touch, and I will be back again next week for a show. And I think next week we're doing a meditation, Akashic meditation. Can't quite remember now because I'm so engrossed in this conversation and what we've been talking about. But thank you again, Ania. My truest gratitude for you coming and sharing today and inspiring us all. Thank you for watching, everyone, and we'll hope to see you soon. Bye for now.